Captain Amanda Hayes stood at the viewport of the Stellar Pioneer, her dark eyes fixed on the seemingly empty space before her. The ship's quantum sensors had been registering increasingly strange readings over the past 48 hours, and something deep in her gut told her they were on the verge of a discovery. "Captain," Lieutenant Ryan Morris called from his station, his voice tight with tension. "We're getting those anomalous readings again, but they're 10 times stronger than anything we've seen before." Amanda moved to his console, her steps steady despite the subtle vibration, beginning to course through the ship's deck plates. The holographic display showed a 3-dimensional map of their sector, where waves of unidentified energy rippled through space like stones dropped in a cosmic pond. "The Krylaxian science vessel is hailing us again," Communications Officer Maria Rodriguez reported, her hands dancing over her console. "They're strongly advising immediate withdrawal from the sector." Amanda watched as the sleek, crystal-like form of the Krylaxian ship began to turn away, its advanced sensors no doubt recording the same impossible data as their own. The alien species was known for their caution and their significantly more advanced technology. "Captain," her first officer, Commander David Wilson, stepped close enough to speak privately. "Maybe the Krylaxians have the right idea. These readings are off the charts, and we don't have their level of shield technology." Amanda smiled, though her eyes never left the display. "That's exactly why we need to stay, David. Whatever this is, it's something new, something unknown. And if we run away every time we face the unknown, we'll never learn anything worth knowing." The vibrations intensified, and now even the human eye could see the subtle distortion of space through the viewport, like heat waves rising from hot pavement on a summer day. "All stations, report," Amanda called out, her voice calm and steady. "Engineering reports all systems nominal, though we're seeing some strange fluctuations in the quantum core." Chief Engineer Thomas Baker's voice came through the comm. "Sensors are still functional, but these readings—" Ryan shook his head. "Captain, according to this, the gravitational constants in this region are changing." "That's not possible." "Clearly, it is possible, Lieutenant," Amanda replied, "since we're watching it happen. Start recording everything. Full spectrum analysis." The Krylaxian ship vanished into FTL, leaving the Stellar Pioneer alone in the churning space. Amanda could feel the eyes of her bridge crew on her, looking for any sign of doubt or fear. She gave them neither. "Maria, send a priority message to Earth Space Command. Include all our sensor data and a personal note. We are witnessing what appears to be a fundamental shift in the physics of spacetime. Request permission to maintain position and continue observations. The universe is trying to tell us something, and humanity needs to be here to listen." As the message was sent, the ship's sensors began recording a new pattern in the gravitational waves. It was subtle at first, but growing stronger, a rhythm that shouldn't exist in random natural phenomena. "Ryan, are you seeing this?" Amanda asked, leaning over his console. "Yes, Captain. The patterns. They're almost like..." "Like what, Lieutenant?" "Like pulses or beats. Captain, these gravitational waves are moving in perfect time. Like..." He hesitated, as if afraid to sound foolish. "Like music," Amanda finished for him, her voice barely a whisper. The universe was indeed trying to tell them something. And unlike the Krylaxians, who had fled from the unknown, humanity would stand their ground and listen. It was what they had always done, from their first steps out of Africa to their first steps among the stars. The Stellar Pioneer held its position as space itself trembled around them, its crew united in their determination to understand what was unfolding before them. They were about to make history, or become part of it. Dr. Michael Reynolds hadn't slept in 36 hours, but the data streaming across his holoscreens at Houston's Advanced Space Research Center kept his mind sharp with adrenaline. The gravitational readings from the Stellar Pioneer had every physics lab on Earth working overtime, but something in these patterns called to him personally. You're going to want to see this, he called out to his research partner, Dr. Lisa Walker, who was dozing on the lab's worn couch. The algorithm just found something in the background radiation. Lisa moved to his station, her eyes widening as she studied the display. That can't be right. Run it again. I've run it 12 times, Mike said, pushing his coffee cup aside to bring up another screen. These aren't random fluctuations in the gravitational field. They're organized, structured. Look at the timing between peaks. The lab's main display lit up with a three-dimensional model of the wave patterns. What had initially appeared as chaos now revealed itself as something far more disturbing. A message. It's like, Lisa hesitated, like someone's playing with gravity itself, but the energy required to do this on such a scale. The lab's doors slid open as General Catherine Matthews strode in, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. Dr. Reynolds, please tell me you have something. We just lost contact with 3 more colony outposts. Mike's fingers flew over his console, bringing up the latest analysis. General, what we're looking at isn't a natural phenomenon. These gravitational distortions are being generated intentionally. And now we know why. He activated the lab's audio system, and a sound filled the room that made everyone's skin crawl. It was the gravitational data translated into audible frequencies, but it carried a pattern that no human mind could have created. We've decoded part of it, Mike continued, his voice tight. They call themselves the resonance. According to what we've translated, they've been here since the beginning. Since before the beginning, actually. They're not just using gravity. They are gravity. Or at least, they control it at a fundamental level. They, General Matthews asked, her hand unconsciously moving to her sidearm. Yes, they. And they're not happy about what they call the new growth in their universe. That's us, General. All of us. Every spacefaring species that's evolved in the last billion years. Lisa pulled up another display, this one showing the locations of the lost colonies. The attacks aren't random. They're following a pattern, like they're tuning an instrument. Each destroyed colony creates a new gravitational resonance that amplifies their control over that sector of space. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had finally made contact with a truly ancient species, only to find that they viewed the younger races as a contamination to be cleansed. How do we fight something like this? The general asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mike stared at the patterns dancing across his screen, his mind racing. We need to think differently. These beings, they don't just control gravity, they use it like we use mathematics or language, maybe even like we use music. He turned to face the general, his expression set with determination. We can't fight them with conventional weapons. We need to understand their language, their mathematics. We need to learn how to speak to the universe itself. The lab's lights flickered as another gravitational wave passed through Earth's solar system. This one felt different, more focused, more intentional, like something ancient and vast had finally noticed their tiny world. Get me everything you can, General Matthews ordered, already moving toward the door. Every scrap of data, every theory, every wild guess. Humanity's survival might depend on understanding what these things are saying. As she left, Mike turned back to his screens, his mind already racing with possibilities. The universe had just revealed its oldest secret, and now humanity had to learn an impossibly ancient language or face extinction. The answer's in here somewhere, he muttered, starting another analysis. We just have to listen more carefully. Jessica Thompson's fingers moved over her old piano's keys without making a sound, her eyes closed, as she translated the gravitational wave data into musical patterns in her mind. 20 years of classical piano training before she turned to physics had given her a unique perspective on the problem that now threatened humanity's existence. Play it again, Dr. James Anderson said from his position at her home office's holographic display. But this time, Let me hear it. Jessica opened her eyes and started playing, her fingers drawing out the complex pattern they'd extracted from the resonance's latest attack. The music that filled the room was unlike anything human ears had ever heard. Beautiful but alien, complex yet following rules they were only beginning to understand. "There," she said, stopping abruptly. "Did you hear it? That's the same progression we saw in the Centauri attack, just transposed to a different gravitational frequency." James rushed to his console, pulling up the data from both incidents. "You're right. The pattern. It's like they're playing the same piece of music, just in different keys." The news feed on the wall displayed the latest reports from the Centauri colonies, or what was left of them. The destruction had been total, with only a few emergency beacons still broadcasting their automated distress signals into space. "It's not just music," Jessica said, moving to stand beside him. "It's more like a conductor leading an orchestra. Each gravitational wave is an instrument, and the resonants are playing them all at once to create these effects." She pulled up another display, this one showing the mathematical relationships between different gravitational frequencies. "Look here. These ratios are exactly the same as the harmonic relationships in classical music theory. Perfect fifths, major thirds, octaves. They're using the mathematical properties of music to control the very fabric of space-time." "But how does that help us?" James asked, his voice tight with frustration. "Knowing their method doesn't give us a way to stop them." Jessica sat back down at her piano, her fingers hovering over the keys. "In music, when you want to change the emotional impact of a piece, you don't just play different notes. You change the harmony. You introduce counterpoint." She began to play again, this time adding a counter melody to the alien pattern they'd discovered. The resulting sound was strange, but somehow right, like two voices finding an unexpected harmony. "If the resonants are using these gravitational harmonies to destroy," she continued, still playing, "then maybe we can use similar principles to disrupt their control. Not by fighting against their song, but by adding our own voice to it." James stared at her, understanding dawning in his eyes. "You're talking about creating some kind of gravitational counterpoint." "Exactly." Jessica stopped playing and turned to face him. "We need to design a device that can generate precisely calculated gravitational frequencies, a machine that can sing to the universe in the resonant's own language." The room's lights flickered as another wave of distortions passed through the solar system. This time, both scientists recognized the pattern for what it was, a warning chord in an ancient symphony of destruction. "We need to move fast," James said, already gathering their data. "The resonants are getting closer to Earth with each attack. How quickly can you translate these musical principles into something the engineers can work with?" Jessica was already moving to her workstation, her mind racing with possibilities. "Give me 24 hours, and get me every physicist and musical theorist you can find. We're going to need both sciences for this to work." As they began their work, neither scientist noticed the small detail that would later prove crucial. During Jessica's counterpoint demonstration, the local gravitational distortions had momentarily stabilized. Somewhere in the dark between the stars, something ancient had heard a new voice join its song, and had paused, just for a moment, to listen. The Harmonic Defense Initiative's main laboratory hummed with energy as Lieutenant Robert Martinez adjusted the settings on the prototype counterpoint generator. Rings of quantum-aligned crystals spun within the device's core, each one precision-tuned to generate specific gravitational frequencies. "Power levels are holding steady at 87%, he called out to Jessica Thompson, who stood at the main control console. "But the harmonic resonance is still fluctuating more than we'd like." Jessica's fingers danced across the holographic interface, making minute adjustments to the generator's output. "Try shifting the base frequency up by 0.3 terahertz. We need to match the resonance carrier wave exactly, or the counterpoint won't synchronize." Around them, the combined team of musicians and physicists worked in perfect concert, each contributing their unique expertise to the project. Dr. Anderson monitored the quantum field calculations, while concert violinist and acoustics expert Rachel Bennett fine-tuned the harmonic progressions. "We've got something," Robert shouted, as the generator's core began to emit a soft, blue-white glow. The gravitational sensors around the lab showed a clear pattern forming, a perfect counter-harmony to the resonance destructive symphony. Then the lights flickered, and warning alarms blared through the facility. "Power draw is critical," the facility's AI announced. "Main reactor approaching safety limits." "Shut it down," Jessica ordered, though the disappointment in her voice was clear. "We're close, but the energy requirements are still too high. At this rate, we'd need a star's worth of power to generate a strong enough field." Robert powered down the generator, his face streaked with sweat from hours of careful adjustments. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. In music, you don't always need more volume to make an impact. Sometimes it's about finding the perfect resonant frequency." Rachel moved from her station, her expression thoughtful. "He's right. Think about how an opera singer can shatter a glass with just their voice. It's not about power. It's about finding the exact frequency that the glass is most vulnerable to." Jessica's eyes lit up with understanding. "And we already know the resonance frequencies. We've been trying to overpower them. But what if we could find their weak points instead?" Dr. Anderson was already running new calculations. "If we analyze the patterns from their attacks, maybe we can find natural harmonics in their gravitational fields, points where a relatively small input could create a massive disruption." The team worked through the night, fueled by coffee and the growing sense that they were on the verge of a breakthrough. As dawn approached, Robert made one final adjustment to the generator's crystal array. "Ready for another test," he announced. "Power levels at 30%, less than half of what we were using before." Jessica took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation control. "Initiating test sequence in 3, 2, 1. The generator hummed to life, its core pulsing with a gentle rhythm that seemed to resonate with something deep in their bones. The gravitational sensors showed a clear pattern forming, but this time the power drain remained stable. "It's working," Dr. Anderson breathed, staring at his readings in amazement. "The field is self-sustaining. The counter-harmony is actually drawing power from the resonance's own gravitational waves." Rachel studied the harmonic analysis display, a smile spreading across her face. "It's beautiful, like a perfect counterpoint in a Bach fugue, each part enhancing the others while maintaining its own identity." Before they could celebrate further, General Matthews burst into the lab, her expression grim. "We're out of time. We just lost contact with the New Montana colony. The resonants are moving faster than we predicted. How soon can your device be ready for field testing?" Jessica looked at her team, seeing the same determination reflected in each face. "Give us 12 hours to fabricate a combat-ready version. This time, we'll be ready for them." The universe had been singing its song of destruction for billions of years, but now, for the first time, humanity was ready to add its own voice to the cosmic symphony. Colonel Emily Parker stood on the bridge of the defense carrier Resolute, watching as the last civilian ships evacuated from New Montana colony. The prototype counterpoint generators had been installed on her ship and 2 others, their crystalline arrays humming with potential energy. "Signal from the perimeter sensors," Lieutenant Ashley Cooper reported, her voice steady despite the tension. "Gravitational distortions are building. They're coming. All ships, battle positions," Emily ordered, her voice carrying across the command channel. "Remember your training. These generators are our only shot at stopping them." Civilian evacuation status: 87% complete. Commander Jack Wilson responded from his station. "We need another 10 minutes to get the last transports clear." The space around the colony began to ripple, like heat waves rising from sun-baked Earth. The resonants were making their presence known, their gravitational symphony building to a crescendo that made the ship's hull plates groan. "Generator status," Emily demanded. "Online and synchronized." Dr. Jessica Thompson's voice came through from the engineering section. She'd insisted on being present for the first combat test of her creation. "But Colonel, we've never tested them against the full force of a resonant attack." "Well, we're about to." Emily's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. "Begin the counter-harmony sequence. All ships, maintain formation Delta." The generators spun up, their carefully tuned frequencies reaching out into space. At first, nothing seemed to change. Then, everyone on the bridge felt it. A subtle shift in the very fabric of reality around them, as if two massive forces were meeting and testing each other's strength. "Energy spike," Ashley called out. "They're responding to our interference." The ship shuddered as the resonants launched their attack. But this time, something was different. Where their gravitational waves had previously torn ships apart with ease, now they met resistance. "Counter-harmony is holding," Jessica reported, though strain was evident in her voice. "But the power draw is massive. We can't maintain this for long." Emily watched as one of her escort ships, the Defiant, began to break apart under the strain. "Defiant, abandoned ship, all hands to escape pods." The battle continued, space itself becoming a battlefield between ancient power and human ingenuity. The counterpoint generators created zones of stability, bubbles where the resonance control over gravity weakened. "Last civilian transport is clear," Jack announced, just as another support beam crashed down in the background. "Something's changed," Jessica's voice cut through the chaos. "The resonance. They're adjusting their attack pattern. It's like they've never had to adapt before." Emily felt a glimmer of hope. If these ancient beings could be forced to change their tactics, it meant they weren't invincible. "Focus all generator power on creating a corridor to the jump point. We've shown them we can fight back. Now let's show them we can survive." The three remaining ships poured everything they had into their generators, creating a tunnel of stable space through the resonant storm. As they retreated, Emily caught a final glimpse of New Montana Colony. The settlement was heavily damaged, but unlike previous attacks, it wasn't completely destroyed. "Ma'am," Ashley said quietly, "the resonants, they're not pursuing." "Send word to Earth," Emily ordered, allowing herself to breathe for the first time in hours. "Tell them the generators work. We lost 3 ships, and the colony's infrastructure is severely damaged. But we proved it. The resonance can be fought." As the fleet limped away through hyperspace, Jessica worked furiously at her console, analyzing the battle data. "This changes everything," she muttered. "We didn't just survive their attack. We forced them to adapt, to change a pattern they've been using for billions of years." Emily looked out at the swirling colors of hyperspace, her mind already planning for the next encounter. Humanity had bloodied the nose of gods and lived to tell about it. The real war was just beginning. Major William Cooper had never seen the Galactic Council chambers so packed. Representatives from every spacefaring race filled the vast amphitheater, their attention fixed on the holographic display, showing footage from the Battle of New Montana. The usual diplomatic posturing had been replaced by a tense silence. "As you can see," William continued, his voice carrying through the chamber, "the counterpoint generator technology not only survived a direct confrontation with the resonance, but forced them to retreat. For the first time in known history, these entities have been successfully opposed." The Arxian ambassador, his crystalline form catching the light, rose to speak. "Your achievement is noteworthy, human, but your technology required tremendous power. Power that most colonies and ships cannot generate." William smiled, having anticipated this concern. That's why I'm here today. We're not looking to sell this technology or trade it. We're giving it away, along with all our research data. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the chamber. The Volturian representative, her energy matrix flickering with surprise, spoke next. You would share such a strategic advantage freely. Why? Because this isn't about advantage, William replied, activating another hologram. This one showed the theoretical models developed by Jessica Thompson's team. The resonants don't just threaten humanity. They want to erase all of us, and we've discovered that their power can be countered most effectively when different technologies work in concert. He gestured to the Orcsian ambassador. Your crystal technology could enhance the generator's precision by an order of magnitude. Then to the Volturian. Your energy matrices could solve our power distribution problems. Finally, to the genre delegation. And your quantum harmonics could help us fine-tune the counter frequencies. Dr. Jessica Thompson stepped forward, having arrived from Earth for this crucial meeting. We're not just sharing a weapon. We're proposing a collaboration. Each of your species has developed unique technologies that, when combined with our basic design, could create something far more powerful than what any of this could achieve alone. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives began to see the possibilities. William watched as ancient rivalries were temporarily set aside in the face of a common threat. The genre chief scientist, his tentacles weaving complex patterns of agreement, approached the human delegation. Our preliminary analysis suggests your counter-harmony theory is sound. With our combined technologies, we could create a network of generators spanning known space. That's exactly what we're hoping for, Jessica replied, pulling up technical specifications on her tablet. Think of it like an orchestra, each species contributing their own instrument to a greater symphony of defense. As the technical teams began to merge their knowledge, William received an urgent message from Earth Command. New data from the long-range sensors showed the resonants were gathering their forces, preparing for something bigger than any previous attack. We need to move quickly, he announced to the chamber. The enemy is adapting, learning. Our next encounter will be different from the last. The Orcsian ambassador's crystal surface pulsed with determination. Then we shall adapt as well. Our fabrication facilities are at your disposal. The Volturian Energy Collective offers the same, their representative added. Our power plants will begin manufacturing components immediately. One by one, the species pledged their support and resources. In the space of a few hours, ancient border disputes and trade conflicts were set aside in favor of survival. As the meeting concluded, Jessica pulled William aside. This is more than we hoped for. But will it be enough? William watched as the various technical teams already began sharing data and modifications. It has to be. We've given the galaxy something it's never had before, a reason to work together. Now we just have to hope we can build our defense before the resonants launch their counterattack. Outside the council chamber's windows, the galactic core glowed like a distant beacon, its light a reminder of what they were fighting to preserve. The universe had watched life evolve for billions of years. Now that life was finally ready to fight back. Admiral Sarah Mitchell stood at the command center of the Harmony's Edge, Earth's most advanced flagship, as she surveyed the largest fleet ever assembled in known space. 10,000 ships from 1,000 different worlds moved in perfect formation, their enhanced counterpoint generators creating a symphony of protective fields. Resonant activity detected at the edge of the system, Commander Ryan Tucker reported, his hands moving across the tactical display. They're coming in force this time. Energy signatures are off the charts. Sarah nodded, her expression determined. Send the signal to all fleet commands. Begin the harmonization sequence. The combined fleet began to move, breaking into precisely calculated groups. Orcsian crystal ships formed the core of each formation, their advanced resonator arrays amplifying the counter-harmony. Volturian energy vessels pulsed with power, feeding the massive network of generators, while Genri quantum ships maintained the delicate frequency balance. All ships report ready, Ryan announced. Counter-harmony grid is stabilizing. The space before them began to distort, not in the usual ripples, but in massive waves that threatened to tear reality apart. The Resonance had indeed learned from their previous defeat, and they were bringing their full power to bear. They're targeting our synchronization. Dr. Thompson's voice came through from the science station. She'd insisted on being present for this battle, monitoring the generator network she'd helped create. They're trying to force discordant frequencies into our harmony. Sarah watched as the first wave of their attack struck the fleet's defensive grid. Several ships on the perimeter began to break formation as the gravitational forces intensified. "Hold the line," she commanded. "Second and third formations, adjust your frequencies to compensate. Remember your training. We're not just ships out here. We're an orchestra." The fleet responded as one, each ship contributing its part to the greater whole. The Arxian vessel's crystal arrays began to sing, their frequencies perfectly matched to counter the resonance attack. Volturian ships pulsed with energy, creating powerful harmonics that strengthened their defense. "They're changing their pattern," Jessica reported, her voice tense. "Something's different. They're not just attacking. They're listening." Sarah could feel it too, a shift in the very nature of the battle. The resonance assault had taken on an almost questioning quality, as if they were testing not just their defenses, but their understanding. "All ships, initiate Phase 2, Sarah ordered. "Let's show them what we've learned." The fleet's formation shifted again, and now their counter-harmony took on a new complexity. It wasn't just defensive anymore. It was an answer to the Resonance Symphony, a response that spoke of life and growth and change. "Energy spike," Ryan called out. "There?" He paused, checking his readings again. "Admiral, they're matching our pattern. Not fighting it, but harmonizing with it." Jessica's voice was filled with wonder. "Of course, we're not just defending ourselves anymore. We're communicating. Every species in this fleet is adding its own voice to the song, creating something the Resonance have never heard before." The battle space had become a canvas of light and energy, as gravitational waves from both sides intertwined in increasingly complex patterns. Ships that had been straining against the forces now found themselves in pockets of perfect stability. "Send to all ships," Sarah commanded, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Maintain your positions, but adjust your generators to harmonic response mode. We're not here to fight them anymore. We're here to join their symphony." As the combined fleet held its position above Earth, the very fabric of space began to shimmer with new possibilities. They had come expecting a battle, but found themselves part of something far more profound. The first true dialogue between the universe's oldest intelligence and its youngest children. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, as two different forms of music, one ancient and vast, the other new and diverse, began to find a common rhythm. Dr. Benjamin Taylor watched a holographic display at Lunar Base with growing amazement as the greatest battle in history transformed into something entirely different. The quantum sensors under his command were recording changes in the very structure of space-time itself. "These readings are unprecedented," he called out to his team. "The Resonance aren't just stopping their attack. They're creating new harmonic patterns I've never seen before." The main screen showed the combined fleet still holding formation above Earth, their counterpoint generators now producing waves that interwove with the Resonance's own frequencies. The result was a spectacular display of gravitational auroras that stretched across the solar system. "Message from the Harmony's Edge," his assistant, Dr. Rebecca Martinez, announced. "They want us to analyze the new patterns. They think the Resonance are trying to tell us something." Ben's fingers flew across his console as he began breaking down the complex harmonics. "It's like like they're teaching us their language. Not just the basic phrases we learned to counter them, but the full complexity of their communication. The laboratory hummed with energy as every available sensor focused on the extraordinary exchange taking place above. The resonance patterns had changed from their previous attacks. Instead of destruction, they now spoke of creation, of growth, of the very birth of the universe itself. "Look at this," Rebecca said, highlighting a section of the data. "The harmonic structure. It's similar to the background radiation from the Big Bang. They're showing us their origins." On the harmony's edge, Admiral Mitchell's voice came through the comm system. "Dr. Taylor, we need your analysis. What are we dealing with here?" Ben studied the latest readings, his heart racing with the implications. "Admiral, I think we're witnessing the beginning of a dialogue. The resonance. They're not just ancient beings, they're the echo of the universe's first song. And now, for the first time, they're hearing new voices join their chorus." The space around Earth shimmered with colors that had never been seen before, as gravitational waves from both sides created patterns of impossible beauty. The combined fleet's generators, enhanced by multiple species technologies, were now producing harmonies that matched the complexity of the resonance's own communications. "They're responding to each new pattern we create," Ben reported, wonder in his voice. "It's like they're learning from us as much as we're learning from them. Every species in the fleet is adding its own unique signature to the symphony." Suddenly, the main display lit up with a new pattern, more complex than anything they'd seen before. The resonance had created a gravitational structure that mirrored the combined fleet's formation, a perfect reflection of the cooperation between species that had never been seen in their billions of years of existence. "This is their answer," Ben breathed, understanding dawning in his eyes. "They've been alone for so long, the only intelligence in a universe they thought was meant to be silent. We didn't just prove we could fight them, we proved we could understand them." The tension throughout the solar system began to ease as the resonance patterns shifted from challenge to acceptance. The very forces that had threatened to destroy younger civilizations now began to protect them, creating stable zones where life could flourish without fear. "Send word to the fleet," Ben ordered, his voice thick with emotion. "Tell them we did it, not through force or destruction, but through understanding and harmony. We've given the universe something it's never had before, a conversation between its oldest and youngest children." As the news spread throughout the combined fleet, cheers and celebrations erupted across 1,000 ships. Humanity had done more than just survive. They had changed the very nature of their reality. The universe was no longer a place of silent laws and cold forces, but a living symphony where every voice could find its place. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as the new harmony spread outward from Earth, a testament to the day when humanity stood firm and taught the universe itself how to listen to a new song.